Welcome back to this course on copyright and related rights law. In the previous two sessions, we have been discussing infringement of copyright. After having understood Section 51 of the Indian Copyright Act, which provides for a consideration of what amounts to infringement, we had moved on to the question of whether infringement is limited to literal infringement. And towards that understanding, we were looking at the Indian Supreme Court judgment in the case of R.G. Anand versus Delux Films. This is the second part of the discussion into R.G. Anand versus Delux Films. You would recall that there were certain propositions that were summarized by the Supreme Court in considering case laws and authorities with respect to the question of infringement that we had discussed in the previous session. In this session, we are going to see how the court is looking at these two works, understanding the components in these works, and then making a comparison to see whether there are similarities and dissimilarities, and how these dissimilarities or similarities can play a role towards an analysis of infringement or legitimate use. Let us first look to the components that the Supreme Court is identifying with respect to the play, both with respect to the play and with respect to the script of the film. We will be looking at the summary of the facts in order to understand similarities and dissimilarities. Let us first then look at the play. The central theme that underlies the play is provincialism. Provincialism leading to prejudice of persons belonging to one state against persons belonging to other states. In the play, R.G. Anand had depicted two families, both neighbors and enjoying cordial relations. One family hailed from Punjab and the other family hailed from Tamil Nadu. Certain characters are important here. In the Punjabi family, Chandair, the daughter, and in the Madrasi family, the son Amni. The father of Amni is a person whose name is Subramanya. This has a particular relation with the script which we will discuss in a bit. As it happened, Amni and Chandair fell in love. They were attracted to each other. The parents were not in favor of this relation, and the parents of both Chandair and Amni were looking to get a separate match for them in terms of a wedding, for which they took the help of a marriage broker whose name in the play is Dhanvantri. Amni and Chandair also tried to use Dhanvantri's services to try and persuade their own parents. Chandair's marriage is fixed by her father with a person called Bansi, who has been described in the play as a simpleton. The only reason it appears that Chandair's father agreed to this marriage is not particularly because of his fondness for Bansi, but rather because of the desperate need for such a match in the prevailing circumstances. Now, Amni was asked by Chandair to speak to her parents about their relation and before this wedding could take place. But Amni was stated in the play to be a cowardly fellow because of his hesitancy to take up this conversation. He rather chooses the option of suicide. Both Chandir and Amni, they enter into a suicide pact which they write down in a letter and they provide it to their parents. The marriage broker convinces them not to commit suicide. The parents of both these children, when they get to know of the intent to commit suicide through their letters, they are filled with grief. It is at that time that Amni and Chandir, they appear as having married, and it was the marriage broker who had gotten them married, and all ends well. There are certain underlying themes which are important in this particular fact situation in the play. The Supreme Court identifies these features as one, that the central idea of the play is based on provincialism and parochialism. Connected to this idea are the other features, which is that the evils of parochialism are expressed through the expression that these two families are cordial neighbors, and even though there was cordiality among them, when the question arose of marriage, they were quick to oppose such marriage. Another feature is the cowardly nature of the boy Amni, who would rather choose suicide than speak to the parents. Another feature is the suicidal pact, which was written into a letter and which was eventually read by the parents. Another feature is the parents realizing the horrors of parochialism upon having read those letters and becoming repentant about their actions. Still another feature is that after such a realization of the horrors of parochialism, when they finally appear to be married to each other, everyone is happy. Now, according to the Supreme Court, now that we have an understanding of the summary of the facts as they appear with respect to the play, and the features which the court identifies are underlying the objective expression, the court is saying that the play is only dealing with one aspect of provincialism, and that aspect is concerning the question of marriage, whether two people belonging to families that hail from different provinces, the kind of issues that arise with respect to marriage. But in terms of other issues that could be connected to provincialism, even with marriage for that matter, an evil of dowry is something that is not discussed and is not present in this play. Neither is any other issue apart from the one aspect of the evils arising on account of provincialism and its practice with respect to marriage. There is nothing else. Keeping that in mind, let us now look at the summary of the film. In this film, there is this boy whose name is Anand. Anand is from Punjab. His family is from Punjab. He has come to Delhi to do a course in radio engineering. At the station, he meets a girl Janaki who is a Madrasi girl. They have some miscommunication at that time at the station. Anand is looking for accommodation in Delhi, but wherever he goes, because he is from a different province, he is met with closed doors. He stays at an inn opposite to the railway station where he meets an innkeeper named Kumaraswamy. The Supreme Court notes that one theme that remains throughout the course of this particular film is the issue that revolves around accommodation and the problem that the evils of provincialism poses on people looking to find accommodation in a particular place. And according to the court, this particular feature is completely absent in the play. You would recall in our discussion on the features of the play, there was no such consideration of the evils of provincialism featured through a person looking for accommodation. Let us look further to the facts. At the inn where Anand was staying opposite the station, he met a staff, an attendant by the name of Kumaraswamy. Kumaraswamy, being a South Indian, suggested to Anand that he should dress up as a South Indian and then go to houses and ask for accommodation. It is through this effort that Anand meets Subramaniam, who is the father of Janaki. Anand is also connected to a school where the principal Murlidhar had introduced Anand to Janaki. It is there when he knows that Janaki is a professor at that particular institute. Janaki and Anand, they get attracted to each other. Anand comes to know that Subramaniam, who's Janaki's father, does not hold a good opinion about Punjabis. He then pretends that he is a South Indian. It is at that time that he gets to know that his father, Daulat Ram, has been transferred to Delhi from Punjab. His father, Daulat Ram, incidentally works in a commercial enterprise in which Subramaniam, Janaki's father, is a subordinate. When Daulat Ram comes to Delhi, he also brings with him Anand's sister Nikki. While in Delhi, Nikki meets a Bengali painter by the name of Ashok Banerjee. Ashok Banerjee and Janaki get attracted to each other. Kumaraswamy is introduced by Anand to Subramaniam, Janaki's father, as his own father. This was when Subramaniam had asked Anand to bring his family. What we must note here, a point of difference again, is that the identity of, or the provincial identity of these individuals were not known to each other. Subramaniam, Janaki's father, did not know the real identity of Anand. And in that sense, there is a dissimilarity because in the play, the regional identity of all individuals was clearly known from the very beginning. There was also the issue that Daulat Ram had problems with respect to any marriage on account of the issue of caste. This was also not an issue that we see under the play. So the Supreme Court is saying that with respect to the play, the identities were completely known, and in terms of this particular feature, there is a clear difference between the two. Coming back to the facts, the identity was eventually revealed, and upon such revelation, Janaki decides to commit suicide. She leaves a suicide note. Daulat Ram tries to get his daughter Nikki married to a Punjabi boy, but that Punjabi family is asking for dowry. At that time, Ashok had offered his mother's jewelry to be used for such purpose by Daulat Ram. Eventually, all of these situations subside when the parties get married, that is Janaki and Anand, and eventually Daulat Ram agrees for Nikki and Ashok's marriage as well. In terms of this particular story of the film, the Supreme Court identifies three main themes. It says, there are two aspects of provincialism: the role of provincialism in regard to marriage and in regard to renting out accommodation, evils of a caste-ridden society, and evils of dowry. In terms of the last two features, they are completely absent from the play. In fact, even with respect to provincialism, the specific feature connected to accommodation was also absent from the film. The second feature of provincialism connected to accommodation was also absent from the play. Therefore, there are many dissimilarities between the play and the story. Therefore, there are many dissimilarities between the play and the script. What the Supreme Court is saying is that these three aspects, which the court has noted, are used together in a manner that they are intricately tied and form a core of the film. To take one part away would essentially be to target this particular unity of the themes that are present in the film. What we can then say is that there is a different treatment that has been taken with respect to the expression in the film. The story, that is treated differently than it is in the play. Let us now see what the Supreme Court is saying with respect to such a distinct treatment that is meted out in the film than in the play. The court is saying, mere similarities by themselves are not sufficient to raise an inference of colorable imitation. On the other hand, there are quite a number of dissimilarities. The dissimilarities far outweigh the similarities. Moreover, even if we examine the similarities mentioned by the plaintiff, they are trifling and trivial, and touch insignificant points and do not appear to be of substantial nature. Just because a name of one of the fathers was Subramaniam is not enough to categorize the expression as a copyright violation. In fact, as we have also studied, names by themselves cannot amount to a copyrighted work. Finally, the court says that the film produced by the defendants cannot be said to be a substantial or material copy of the play written by the plaintiff. Treatment of the film and the manner of its presentation on the screen is quite different from the one written by the plaintiff at the stage. Satisfied that after seeing the play and the film, no prudent person can get an impression that the film appears to be a copy of the original play, nor is there anything to show that the film is a substantial and material copy of the play. At the most, it is the central idea of provincialism, which is present as a similarity between the play and the film, and just this particular central idea being the same cannot lead to a violation of copyright. With this, hopefully, we have clearly understood that infringement or copyright violation is not limited to literal forms of expressions which are copied, but can also extend to non-literal elements, as we have seen being the case in R.J. Anand versus Delux films. We will continue our discussion into infringements in the next session as well. Thank you for joining me. See you all in the next session. Thank you.